Read all about it. Get your paper. Read about...
Circulation at the nation's daily newspapers is falling faster than anticipated this year as readers switch to web-based sources and papers narrow their distribution to cut costs.
For survival, read about the county fair. See them advertise the latest rage. The kiddies have their comic page, and here's the latest movie in town. There's no one this paper wouldn't please, 'cause every column guarantees a smile, a tear, a laugh, or a frown. From every walk of our society, variety from comedy to tragedy. Just turn the page and see.
Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem. In fact, both local San Francisco papers are investing a lot of money to try and get a service just like that started. Science editor Steve Newman reports on one person already using the brand new system.
17 stories up in his fashionable North Beach apartment, Richard Halloran is calling a local number that will connect him with a computer in Columbus, Ohio. Meanwhile, across town, in this less than fashionable cubbyhole at the San Francisco Examiner, these editors are programming today's copy of the paper into that same Ohio computer. When the telephone connection between these two terminals is made, the newest form of electronic journalism lights up Mr. Halloran's television with just about everything the Examiner prints in its regular edition. That is, with the exception of pictures, ads, and the comics. 8 newspapers around the country are currently in the computer network, and within the next few weeks, 3 others will join in.
This is an experiment. We're trying to figure out what it's going to mean to us as editors and reporters and what it means to the home user. And we're not in it to make money. We're probably not going to lose a lot, but we aren't going to make much either.
Both the Examiner and Chronicle began service within the last 2 weeks and printed full-page ads about it. Of the estimated 2,000 to 3,000 home computer owners in the Bay Area, the Chronicle reports over 500 have responded by sending back coupons. Even though the electronic newspaper isn't as spiffy looking as the ads imply, people using the system are excited about its potential.
With this system, we have the option not only of seeing the newspaper on the screen, but also optionally we can copy it. So anything we're interested in, we could go back in again and copy it onto paper and save it, which I think is the future of the type of interrogation an individual will give to the newspapers.
This is only the first step in newspapers by computer. Engineers now predict the day will come when we get all our newspapers and magazines by home computer, but that's a few years off. So for the moment at least, this fellow isn't worried about being out of a job. Steve Newman, News Center 4.
Well, it takes over 2 hours to receive the entire text of the newspaper over the phone, and with an hourly use charge of $5, the new telepaper won't be much competition for the 20-cent street edition.
More and more newspapers are expanding their websites in the hopes of staying competitive in today's growing online world. Even if Americans stop buying the daily paper, the thinking goes, at least they'll continue to get their news on the web.
If I don't feel like going out for a newspaper, I'll get it online. It's more convenient online.
Internet is easier, so I prefer the internet.
I prefer the internet just a little bit more because it's a little bit more informative. You get to browse around a little bit more. You're not confined to a newspaper.
But last week, the New York Times Company, the Tribune Company, and the Gannett Company all announced that their online advertising growth is faltering. The Times, for example, reported its online revenue fell 50% from last year. Porter Bibb of Media Tech Capital Partners says that's because American newspaper and magazine publishers are not integrating the web rapidly enough.
Well, the handwriting is clearly on the wall, and if you follow the share prices of any of the major newspaper companies in the United States, Wall Street is telling them that they may be history. But that's a very difficult transition for a lot of managers, particularly managers of a certain mindset and certain generation, to make.
Meanwhile, the challenges to traditional journalism and its websites keep mounting. Community-oriented sites like MySpace are entering the news business, and other sites like Politico.com are also luring advertisers away. Adding to the field, search giant Yahoo just made a deal with 11 major newspaper publishers to sell national advertising across their websites.
The issue is not that they can't make the transition and recapture advertising. The issue is margins. They're going to have to share revenue with these internet advertising agencies.
Bibb adds that despite the grim outlook, newspapers are still moneymakers. They just aren't the cash cows they once were. Manoush Samaroon.
The newspaper is really great. It gets delivered to my doorstep every morning at 8. It's kept rolled up with rubber bands, and I reach out to pick it up with trembling hands. I cannot wait to open it, read all the articles and soak up every last little bit. Find out my horoscope and see what's on the TV tonight. Learn some etiquette and tact from Judith Martin's Insight. See all the movies playing, I could go and see The Dark Knight. Read all the comics, Peanuts, Blondie, Garfield, Pearls Before Swine. I read it every day. I'd be so very, very sad if it ever went away. 'Cause I love to read the newspaper.
To a certain extent, but it's a big marketplace out there, and the fact that not everybody apes the Washington Post and the New York Times is not necessarily all that bad. I mean, for sure, this has not only been a bad year, it's arguably been the worst year in the history of the business. Publicly traded newspaper-based companies, their share prices have gone down something like 80%. That's far worse than the Standard & Poor's 500 average over the past year. So you've got a dramatic fall in revenues, dramatic fall in profitability. Some of these companies, like a lot of the Wall Street firms, way too highly leveraged. That said, one of the more interesting things out there, or the more interesting realities, guys, is the fact that if you take the whole universe of readership in some of these communities of a paper like the Washington Post, combining the print version with the online version, you probably have had audiences which have never been bigger than they are today. Yes, the Post circulation heading a little bit south, but when you add in the number of folks who are looking at your great journalism, that's a pretty impressive figure. Now the question is, how do you make money, particularly off the internet? And right now that is a severe challenge.
After all the hype and generally favorable reviews, it's finally here.
We came here at Thursday at 11:30 p.m.
So that's what, over, almost 10 hours?
I think it was 36 hours. So
On Thursday? You came on Thursday?
Yeah.
Today's Saturday?
Yeah.
But can Apple duplicate the super-duper success it enjoyed with the iPod and later the iPhone? These die-hard Apple fans certainly think so. Apple has already keyed in 240,000 advance orders. At stores across America, there were 2 waiting lines, one for those who pre-ordered and the other for walk-ins, hoping to buy one on the spot. Like it or not, there's no way to ignore the iPhone. It's already on the cover of both Newsweek and Time and has been the talking points of the late night shows, from the Letterman show to the Colbert Report. And if you're thinking that these lines aren't as bad as it was for the iPhone, well, that's because many people are doing their waiting back at home. For the first time, unlike the iPhone, the iPad can be delivered online.